boken från 2016 får Han Kangs lyriska stil åter dominera. Det är en sorgsång ägnad en följd av korta anteckningar som alla handlar om vita föremål, är det denna sorgens färg kallats. Det är i tilltalet till en döda som boken når fram till sina sista ord. I det vita, bland annat. En annan höjdpunkt i författarskapet är slutligen jag som utspelar, där arkebuserades 10. Boken gestaltar mästerligt ett sorgearbete som berättaren utför tillsammans med sin väninna, där båda bär på den Kang, det förflutnas makt över det närvarande, men lik kollektiva glömskan som omger dem och förvandlar traumat i ett gemensamt konstprojekt vars narriska trauman och i alla sina verk blottlägger hon människans sårbarhet. Hon har en unik uppmärksamhet på förbindelserna mellan kropp och själ, levande och döda, och i sitt sökande och poetiska skrivsätt har hon blivit en förnyare av den samtida prosan. 4 av de prosaverk som jag har nämnt är översatta till svenska. Den vita boken kom 2019. Han Kang, the 2020 be awarded the literature, her authorship, also art forms, is clearly reflected in her writing, which has a broad span in terms of genre. Later made her prose debut with a collection of short stories. Her major international breakthrough was the novel The Veggie, or the violent consequences that proceed from the protagonist's refusal to eat meat. Han Kang's physical empathy for the vulnerable, often female lives, is palpable and reinforced by her metaphorically charged prose. Love develops tenderly between a woman who has lost the power of speech and a teacher of ancient Greek who himself is losing, and the ultimate conditions of language. In the novel Human Acts from 2014, Han Kang this time employs as grew up and were hundreds of students in 1980. Literature. In the White Books, but who passed away only a couple of hours, white objects, it is through this whiteness that the work as a whole is associatively constructed. This makes it less a novel described. It is in addressing the dead that the novel reaches its final words. Within that white. Another highlight of her authorship is finally We Do Not Part from 2021. The story unfolds in the shadow of Jeju Island, where tens of thousands on suspicion of being collaborators by the narrator and their relatives. With an imagery that is as precise as it is condensed, Han Kang emphasizes not only what has fallen into collective oblivion and transformed that which lends the book its title. In her oeuvre, Han Kang, as expressed in the Academy's citation, confronts historical traumas and in each of her works exposes the fragility of human life. She has a unique awareness of the connections between body and soul, the living and the dead. Several works are translated to French and German. In English, we have Convalescence from 2013, The Vegetarian, 2015, Human Acts, 2016, Greek Lessons, 2023, and We Do Not Part, which is planned to come out next year in 2025. Thank you for listening and for joining us today. And now I will give the word to Ellen Mattsson and Anna-Karin Palm for individual interviews. Thank you.
Right now, part of the briefing is over, and we'll move on to the interviews.
ställer dig där. Någonstans. Jag håller den i handen bara. Eller ja. Jag tar in den i luften.
Det här är liksom, här vill man slängt i vargarna första. Men alltså, men då så skönt att du hanterar det som vi bara...
Och
det här är inte...
Kliva lite. Lite ditåt. Och som det kommer pytte ditåt.
Ja, det är lite längre. Så sidan båda två. Det känns ju väldigt... Det här är lite nervösare också när det är... Det är som alltid lite längst. Vi får veta...
Kan ni börja? När någon gör så, om det är okej. Ja. Jag väntar på en sån här.
Pass på. 5, 4, 3.
Anna-Karin Palm, Swedish Academy, you just announced that the Nobel Prize in Literature for 2024 will go to Han Kang. Could you please tell us something about the authorship?
Well, Han Kang is a writer from South Korea. She was born in 1970, but she has been a published author already for 30 years. Her debut was in 1993 in a magazine, a literary magazine, and then 1994, a collection of short stories. I would say this is a very rich and complex oeuvre that spans many genres, and Han Kang writes is really intense lyrical prose that is both tender and brutal, and sometimes slightly surrealistic as well. There's a continuity as to themes that is quite remarkable, but at the same time a huge stylistic variation that makes every book a new aspect or a new expression of these central themes.
If you haven't read her, what would you recommend to start with?
Oh, depends on who it is, but I always try to make individual recommendations. But I would say the book Human Acts from 2014. It's a very moving, sometimes terrible story because it's based on a historical event of a massacre when the military in South Korea, 1980, killed over 100 students and civilians that were demanding democracy and human rights. But Han Kang uses this historical base in a very special way when she lets different characters reflect these events, both then and in the present, and also shows how the living and the dead are always intertwined and how these kind of traumas stay in a population for generations sometimes. And it's also that her, in this book, always, but especially effective in this book, I would say, is her very tender and precise prose that in itself almost becomes a counterforce to these brutal noisiness of power.
Thank you so much, Anna-Karin Palm.
Thank you. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry.